Man, no background music must be fucking disturbing. We didn't even have time to put that up.
Wait, hold on. Let me make it.
I love how like you just like essentially go straight for house instead of like fucking like elevator music or some shit.
Or like
There we
because
go.
it's hard. Elevator music's hard.
Elevator music's very hard, which is why I like it. Anyways, welcome to
Play it on guitar,
Feedback
like
But Good 4. We haven't done one of these in months.
actually, last time we did it was on month 8 of last year.
On August, according to our spreadsheet, yeah. We have been incredibly busy. Can you can you do throat singing? I can't.
No. Actually, I don't know. I've never tried.
You were fully
Sounds for it, so no, I can't.
Nah, neither of us can throat sing, unfortunately. Yeah, no. Since the last time we did a feedback but good, we have now been in the same room. Uh,
and and the rest.
and everything else that happened. Wait, did we do the last feedback but good
Yeah.
before even Tear It Down came out?
Yeah, because Tear It Down only came out just before you came over.
Jesus Christ. It came out like September, didn't it?
Yeah.
Anyways, so we're doing feedback but good again. It's a thing that we want to spin up and start doing more. Well, I personally want to. Zach may come to me after this and be like, I hated that. Don't want to do this
On
again.
YouTube, not Twitch.
Yeah, no, I've switched away from Twitch since then. But yeah, if you're not familiar with the premise, it's it's a feedback stream, but actually good. Our goal is that everybody here, no matter if you submitted something, if you're a producer, or if you're just a casual viewer who came by and don't know nothing about how the sausage gets actually made, we hope that you learn something. Um, because of the nature of these streams, we do not accept submissions in chat. We have had a couple people back when we streamed on Twitch show up in chat and be like, "Hey, listen to my thing." No. If you would like to be notified of the next time we do this, you can join my Discord, link in the description, or you can join Zach's Discord, link wherever the fuck it is. I don't know.
Getting the link now.
He's gonna make me put it in the fucking description, isn't he?
Hey, if you want to, I'm not saying anything. But hey, join my Discord. I've just put it in the chat. Oh dear, I've used the wrong account. I've just
Chat
inadvertently
better.
dropped.
She
I've just
feedback my
inadvertently dropped.
feedback till I feedback.
Joe, can you undox me, please?
Uh, which one is you?
Oh, it blocked me. That's good. I
That's
think
good.
it blocked me.
I don't think it
Okay.
allows you to. This is Azalea. Hell yeah.
Okay. It still didn't work, but oh well. Hey, hey, you know, hey, hey, Drac, you know who you know what you should put in your description?
What should I put in my description? Hmm.
What are you gonna put in your description? Oh, I don't know. Like, yeah, just there you go.
You DM'd it to me. What the? Thank you for someone sending a chat message so I can actually get to the. Oh my god! I have to do this in the fucking thing. Oh, I hate YouTube Studio sometimes. If it doesn't load the chat.
It doesn't load past chat.
It doesn't load past chat. It's because I'm trying to pin the message that I sent in OBS and the fucking.
Yeah, wait, hold on. I have a solution. I have a solution.
You have a
You don't
solution.
need. Yeah. Hold on. I have a thing for this. It's called. Oh, that's.
Oh, there we go.
Oh wait, that's the wrong. That's the wrong one of them.
There we go. No chat submissions. That's the rule. All right. We are going to be looking at 3 lovely, lovely tracks today. Oh, for Christ's sake! You put
Not in my Discord. I need clout.
God. We're in a public voice chat in your Discord. We're gonna get fucking. What's the word for doxing someone on Discord?
Stream snipes? I don't know.
That's a good one.
Anyway, let's listen to the first track, shall we?
First track.
Yay!
Woo!
Oh, first track.
First
This one
track.
is by Bystander and Ear Rape. Wait, is it Ear Rape? Therapy?
We're just gonna call them ear rape. If they don't like it, they can send us. You can send me an email at contact@draconium.productions.
And you can contact me at no.
1, 2, 3, insulting slur lane.
Right. Okay. We're gonna listen to this. It's gonna be epic. Yeah. We have all these tools, and they're an absolute mess. But like, hey, if your brain works like mine, this will be perfect.
All right, let's begin. First one is it's interchangeably called garden and raincoat on our sheet. So I'm just gonna call it I don't fucking know.
I don't gonna care. I don't know. Okay. Hold on. Let me just fit another EQ in here, and then we'll be good. Great.
Before you get going, Xenon has asked a wonderful question in chat. Wait, I need to know one thing. By links, do you mean like Dropbox links or SoundCloud links? As long as it's a link to audio, and preferably if it has downloads, we'll take it. We had to rip some of these from SoundCloud directly, so
we ripped them all.
We ripped them all. Never mind. How's it called? Raincoat. I submitted garden for sure. That's what it says on the sheet.
Yeah, we've got garden. Don't worry, it is garden.
It is garden, but it's just called raincoat on our sheet for some reason. We don't know why.
Yeah, I confirm that. Don't worry. Right. Okay. Shall we listen? Shall we listen to the music?
Yes. Let's listen to the music.
Let's do.
She moved on her own. When will she see?
That is certainly one of the songs of all time. Okay, so it's time for a little bit of feedback but good behind the scenes trivia. We were
Hey.
we were actually slightly hesitant to cover this on the stream, mainly because it's already released. We tend to prefer to do unreleased stuff because if you've watched a feedback with good stream, you know that we shred everything that's put in front of us to pieces. And the advantage of doing that with a work in progress is the artist can go back and implement some of the stuff we suggest. Everything here that we're going to talk about, you can't do because it's already released and it'll probably keep you up at night. But
We've done it anyway.
we've done it anyway, and we hope that it'll be valuable for anything you make in the future. So, with that said, after 10 months, who wants to go first?
Well, I do, but I want the notes I sent to you.
You did not send me notes for Garden specifically. You sent me notes for a different one, but here are all the notes.
I spoke my notes to you.
Yes, and I combined everything that we have together into that.
Great, we have a master one. Okay, I'll hit on some of the vocal stuff, seeming that that's kind of the area that I live in currently. So, I'll point out the things I also pointed out if I remember correctly. So one thing that we noticed with the track is that the vocals were very not present, and some really cool ways to kind of find that in vocals is by boosting up in the higher mids to high end. So in this specific case, we found that 2.5K and 6.5K were actually quite nice frequencies to boost. I wouldn't boost it as much as that, but maybe if you listen to this now, hopefully we can find vocal.
Oh yeah, that length is a lot better.
Here and then, just something that kind of happened overall with the track, but the vocals definitely were there, is that you have a lot of this range here. Was this the one with the mid in the mid?
This is the mid and the mid one, yes.
Yeah. So, so we actually found that one of the quickest ways we were able to clean this up post. Oh, apparently our voices aren't very loud.
Yep, working on it.
Thank you. So, one thing that we found that cleared this up really quickly was we just pulled down slightly with a mid style EQ. So, you know how you have mid, which is your stereo content, and then you have you have side, which is your stereo content, and mid, which is your mono content. We've pulled down. We decided when we pulled down the mono content in the middle, it was able to actually drastically improve. We found that actually drastically improved the sound of it and cleared up a lot of some small issues.
Yep.
So,
and this plays into a note that I had as well of like, first of all, I'm going to start with a compliment. You did an amazing work with the ambience, with your background ambience here. It is full, it is lush. There's a lot of like depth and complexity, and I love it. Excellent job. No notes there. However, it is very, very it's very, very squished into the center. It doesn't feel as wide and open as it can be. And a solution for that is mid-side EQing. If you, as we demonstrated, brought down all your stuff in the mids and then subsequently boosted that stuff in the sides, you're moving it more to the sides of your head and sort of like open, have it feel a lot open, a lot wider. You'll also find if you do this that it'll be a lot easier to get certain elements to fit, like say, for example, your vocals.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, because like when I was listening through it for the first time, it I just could barely make out what the vocalist was saying. There's just like there's someone there, but they're not really sitting on top of the mix as they should, and that can be something that you can do to fix that. Another recommendation are multiple pads like 4 or 6 all playing different notes of the chords and playing them differently. I like that idea. I think that's it's a very blunt approach to doing that, but but I feel like that would definitely work. Also, regarding vocals, another thing you can try in the future is vocal layers. Having your vocalist do multiple takes, maybe write harmonies. In an unreleased track of mine, which should be coming out soon, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. There are a boatload of vocal layers that are all playing slightly different things and are all panned differently, and it sounds wonderful. It is something that now that I've like really tried it and played around with it is something that I cannot recommend enough.
Hmm. Cool. So.
Let's quickly tough. Yeah, no. If you can't tell, we listened to these beforehand and took notes.
Yeah, we wanted to be we wanted to take care and just to have as much detail as possible on when we were doing this, because we want this to be feedback, but good. So
Exactly.
that we wanted to make sure that we had enough time to process it without A, making the stream boring, but B, without us having to stumble over. We have like these concise ideas.
Mm-hmm. And on that note, let's talk about drums. Overall, your drum work is pretty good. I wouldn't say it needs some major changes. The only thing is, I feel your snare is slightly dry, so it sticks out a lot more than perhaps it probably should. The fix for that is you can take a convolution reverb or even like Tau Reverb 4, I think would be. No, would Tau Reverb be good for this? I'm not sure. Um, you don't want to add too much though. Just enough to like give it like a little bit of that pizzazz, if you know what I mean. You can also try turning it down a little bit. Speaking of turning it down, if you look at the waveform of the song as a whole, it's pretty consistent. It doesn't exactly drastically change in volume until the outro, and that's kind of a problem. I'm sure everybody here who makes music has learned about song structure, and you structure things a specific way. But if you're going to deviate from that, or if you're going to do it, one thing that you need to make sure is there is contrast between your sections. And one of the most important ways and best ways of doing that is having all your sections be at a different volume. Right now, everything kind of. Let me turn it up a little bit so you can hear.
Oh, let me turn it up. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I've just been mixing this.
Yeah. So it's just kind of all the same.
Yeah, it's like there's a lot going on, and you're introducing a lot of new layers, but everything is still kind of staying the same, so it doesn't feel like it's going anywhere.
Yeah, and like don't be afraid to pull and push on your layers. I think that's one thing that, especially with this track, would account is that you have quite a consistent sound throughout, but you're not. It feels like you're just trying to keep and going up where there's not a lot of room. So like for example, this spot here, you take out the drums, but basically quite a lot of this, almost all the synths from this section over here are still there, so it still kind of contains that energy. So what you wanted to do is then drop back onto more like softer sounds here. So then when you built it up to go back here, it would be a bit more of a dynamic push as well, because dynamics is, whilst it can be a volume thing, can also be a frequency thing, and so just think of it like that. Think of pushing things. If you want a really good example, if you want a really good example of somebody who does this really well, is a guy called Strome.
Oh,
He
Stromae. Yeah.
Oh my days.
The French guy?
Yeah, he's so American. But yeah, like the Strome, especially the Fil de Joy, really, really, I'm gonna get copyright claim if I do anything, won't I?
Yeah, feedback but good listening homework. Go listen to this. All right?
Specifically, Fil de Joy. Listen to the main loop. They use the same loop the whole way around, but how they just use simple filters to affect the energy of it is how the track gets its energy. I would heavily recommend having to listen to that track as a point of reference. This was always like when I was teaching students on music production. This would always be the first thing I show them, is that you need to be able to do, like, you can do things simply. You don't have to overthink it. Filters do a great job as well.
Yeah. Filters is a more creative way of doing it. There's a lot of room to develop your own voice here, because the simplest solution is turning it down, and probably the most effective and one you'll use the most. But you can also use filters, or wash things out with reverb and delays and other things. Like, there's a lot of things that you can do to alter the dynamics, and I think that's like one of the most fundamental building blocks.
Yeah. Like, something that you'll notice, especially in trap music, is the use of filters for dynamics.
Oh yeah.
Because it's just the same loop. So they just filter it back when they want the beat. They want the beat to be a bit softer, and then they open up the filter to make it go harder. It's all the same loop, but how they use filters makes that effectively something that's actually quite interesting, and gets rid of the quote unquote repetition.
Yep. So I think that's everything we have to say on dynamics. Let me check my notes. Did we already talk about the clumping?
I think we went over that with the mid range, but I'll go over it again just in case.
Yeah, because
So one thing we noticed was in the 750 range. Hold on, where's my EQ? There it is. So in the 750 range, especially, quite a lot of your track sits here. And so just pulling that back. I think that's what we pulled back with the mids.
My note, I have 750 written down in my notes here.
Yeah. So it's 750 where I think you need to pull back on your mids. But just check your mid side. Good. Sometimes if things sound a bit too if things are sounding a bit muddy, just check your mids.
Check your mids. And also check and see where all of your synths are like sitting in frequency space, because like they can all be sitting in a similar area, and if you don't control that, then it can get out of hand and sound really incoherent.
Yeah, right. I think that's enough of that one though, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I think that's everything we have to say on Garden. If you would like to reference this, this VOD will stay up on YouTube. I'll go back through and timestamp everything so you can watch it. And if you'd like, reach out to me in DMs and I can give you a written copy of the notes that we took during our first listen.
Cool. So the next one is?
Next one we have is Waste. Or that's the second one that I have notes for.
Yeah. So we have a small omission because of the later submission of the last one. We don't actually have any notes for that one. So you're gonna have to bear with us on that, and it might take 1 or 2 listens.
And we're probably gonna. It's gonna be a lot more. It's gonna be a lot more boring.
Sorry.
Sorry. I mean,
Hey.
music content's already boring on YouTube because people don't like that stuff.
Okay, let's listen to it. Let's go.
Let's go.
What? What?
I said that a little bit. Go. 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 Go.
Oh, I'm going now. Okay.
Another song of all time. All right. So
This should be just a quick note. This should be close enough for us to do an analysis on it.
yeah, no,
Go on.
it's like I would personally prefer working with whatever we rip from streaming services because that is how most people are going to listen to it.
That's true.
Like yes, like if we really want to get into the nitty gritty, you can't beat Wave or Flack, but come on.
Right. Do you want to do the basics of this one?
Yeah, let's go over the highlights. First of all, that knife sound you have in the intro. This is actually something that Zach and I disagree on. So take this with a grain of salt. But I think it's too harsh. I think there's something going on in the oh god, I want to say like 1 to 5K range. It sounds like you're scraping your nails against a chalkboard or like a baby crying. So like it would be more closer to 1K, I reckon. If you with an EQ, you could probably just dip it in that area and that would probably tame it. If you want to try and like fully fix it, Oak Sound Soothe 2 I think would be an excellent tool for that.
Yeah. Let's just quickly. I'm gonna quickly isolate it.
Yeah, let's do that real quick.
Okay, it's up in the 7Ks. That's it. 6,500.
5K?
Yeah, but generally you can do this like a bit more light that,
Yeah.
and that helps.
Yep. Or if you want to be a little bit more surgical, you can use Soothe 2 for this. That would be an excellent tool.
That's true.
Also, this is funk, and I feel like that cowbell could be a lot more forward. It really does feel like a lead element, and it feels like it's getting buried.
G clip the font. G clip it.
G clip it. I was gonna suggest transient shaping maybe. But I think, well, no, you're more familiar with the genre, so you probably take.
I, I have listened to a few funk songs, but yeah, like distort your okay. G-Clip will make your G-Clip is a distortion plugin. Okay, so what G-Clip does, if I chucked this on the master, for example, and just cracked it, it would turn your track into. It makes everything really loud, but it also can add some overtones that we can help things come out of it. It's just distortion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then transient processor here is basically there's a really good free plugin called Transient that you can use. But transient process is basically where you can increase the attack or release of certain elements. So if I just chuck this on the main track, flat anyway, but you get the idea. Like it's supposed to add more punch, I guess. Which I'm gonna take it over so I can demonstrate this with the kick.
Ah, yes.
We don't like your kick.
No. You as punishment, I'm gonna have to do the drum lesson again.
But first, I'll explain what we've done. Uh, well, I've roughly done, and then we can go and do the drum lesson. Go on.
Okay, let's get MS Paint going, shall we? Feedback but good veterans are groaning, or anyone who's been in a Discord call with me ever. Because I am one of those people who's incredibly anal about drums, and people don't realize how important they are, and you need to get them right. All right. So
But I'm gonna quickly point out, these aren't necessarily the rules, but they're really, really good guidelines.
they are incredibly good guidelines. If you follow these things that, oh my god, I fucking hate. Okay. All right, MS Paint's fucked at OBS, but we don't care. All right, you can still see what I'm drawing. So, I'm gonna. There's usually a lot more that I go into. I'm gonna save it for brevity because I think Zach's gonna fucking die if I try and go through the whole thing. So let's talk about a kick. All right, a kick typically looks something like this, right? That is a shitty drawing. I don't have my drawing. So you have your actually. Wait, no, I could just get a full ass kick and just paste it in. Hold on.
Thought you were gonna do this in Ableton.
Oh no, I would do it in Bitwig, but I usually do it in MS Paint. All right. Here's a kick. All right. So there are a couple fundamental elements that you will see in every single drum in EDM. You will have your transient, which is right at the start. You'll have your body, or the doot, as some people call it, or the knock is another word for it, and you have your tail, which is everything else. The transient is usually a noise click or some DC offset that is incredibly short. Like it usually lasts like maybe a couple milliseconds, right?
For example, this is a click that was made.
That was not a click that I made. That's a click that I stole from a snare, but
Enough. It's a click.
it's a click. If you were to make a click yourself, you would basically just like go into a synth of your choice, get some white noise, and just like have an insanely short envelope on it.
Like this. Hold on, I'll make one right for now for you. If your instructions were correct, this should work perfectly.
Yep.
We have not tested this.
We have not tested this, but
I'm gonna grab a 3LX aux, and then we're gonna go envelope and attack and really reduce everything down to like basically. Oh.
shorter.
Oh.
It's pretty. It's not. It's very rare that you'll actually get it fully tuned in the synth.
I think that's it.
That's very close. So like what I would usually do at this point is bounce it out in audio and just take like a tiny portion of it. Like I cannot overstate how short it is. It is insanely short. But The transient or the click is responsible for most of the clickiness in drums. It can really help. It's like one of the two things that can make a drum incredibly punchy. The second part is the doot or the body, or in this case for a kick, the knock. The knock is pretty much always a sine wave that is going down at some way. Because if you think about the physics of a drum head, right? You hit it and it's vibrating very fast, right? But drums follow the laws of physics. And when a thing has a lot of energy, it wants to dissipate that energy. So the drum head dissipates that energy through vibration. And if you remember your science class, a slower vibration means a lower pitch. So you can very easily emulate this in a synth by having just a sine wave go down. Every single synthesized drum does this. Dubstep snares, kicks, normal synthesized snares, they all do it. Snares to a lesser extent, but kicks definitely do it. And for club tracks where you want that big boomy kick, you really want that knock to last a little bit, like do do do, if you're working with a sample and you'd like it to be longer, an excellent tool for this is disperser, funnily enough. I'm not going to get into how disperser works, because if I do, I'm going to be here for like an extra 20 minutes, and nobody likes me talking about filters for 20 minutes. But essentially, through black magic and math, it can stretch out a sound like chewing gum, which does mean that it's going to end up being quieter. So you'll usually need to follow it up with some saturation or compression or both to get it back to real sausage mode. And then your tail can take the form of, the sine that you have fading out, which is usually what it is in the case of kicks, or in snares, it's usually noise or whatever. It's a whole lot of shit, whatever. So the problem that we had with your kick,
So I go.
pull up the kick. It's nice and boomy. I realized I had paint off the whole time. Sorry, you just have to go with my explanation. But your kick was nice and boomy. It was very lovely, but the transient was kind of dog shit.
Yeah. So the first thing I did was I removed most of the knock of it right now, because it just sounded bad. So I took out some 500 and some 4.1K, because that's kind of where the high end of the kick was sitting, which didn't sound too nice to me. And then my friend over here made a very nice little transients, and so you can now tell the difference. So this is without the fixes. Hold on, let me find all this stuff for it. Yeah, so this is without all the fixes, with the EQ. It just makes it a little bit more bassy, and then with the transient added on. Can you hear that with that added thing? It actually adds a huge amount to that kick, doesn't it? It adds the actual like punchiness to it in the high end.
Yes.
Not necessarily more transient, a different transient. That wasn't really present. It wasn't present in the right places, because the thing is, it was present. It was present at these two frequencies, but it was too low, and ended up sounding a bit too plasticky, I guess.
Yeah, I would say the transient was actually pretty weak, because you really want, especially for like housey, clubby genres such as funk, you really want that kick to cut through, because that's supposed to be the thing that people feel, right? And it needs to be strong. It needs to be assertive. It needs to be a top, if you will. I'm sure some of you are sex enjoyers in chat, so enjoy that.
Sweet. So
Let's see what other notes did I have.
Haha, vocals. Really
Let's
sorry.
talk about vocals again. All right, Xenon.
Hold on.
Oh,
Hold on. Let me go through the frequency stuff first.
yeah. Okay, let's go through the frequency stuff.
We'll go through the potential fixes.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So So your vocal is quite low endy. So our suggestion is that you've got like a ton of like 189. Take some of that out and then boost your 2.5 because that's where your presence is. Around 2.5 is presence. And about 5k just is a nice sounding frequency. Of course, this doesn't sound nice because it's on the whole track.
Yeah.
And so that's a cool thing. Welcome, Choco. And
Choco.
But yeah, so yeah, it's just generally there's too much bass. I think you need to EQ it a little bit. Like here's the default FL vocal EQ. It works very well. It cuts like the low end where you're having the problems. It cuts off the low end and then boosts the high end, and then you move that to wherever it sounds good. But that's generally the idea. So potential fixes other than EQing. Take it away.
All right. So let's talk about your vocals. I have said this before, and I'm going to say it again. You really need to project more with your vocals. I feel like every single time that I hear vocals from you, they feel very soft. They feel very soft sounds insulting actually. But I guess that's the best adjective. Please don't take that the wrong way. But it sounds, you know, it sounds soft, it sounds understated, and it sounds intimate, which does work for some styles of music. You know, if you were, let's say, like a chill or a lo-fi producer, it's like I would be like, oh, that's the perfect, you know, your voice would be perfect for that. However, you don't make lo-fi and chill, you make funk and other genres of music, and in fact, you know, you're literally singing on like a DMB track ID of mine. So it's something that I really recommend you work on is projecting more. I wish that I could give you tips on how to do that, but I am not a singer.
That's my turn. That's my turn.
Yay!
So if you look to the screen, you can see real me.
There he is, and you can tell how much latency there is because it lip syncs really bad.
Wait, hold on. Real me. Okay. Anyway, I have listened to your old songs. I feel like I've told you this in the past about some of your old songs. I'm not sure. So the biggest two things that will really help you is your mouth is a cavity, and you want to keep that quite open.
Yes,
You
we have both listened to your work.
you want to keep your mouth quite open. So when you're talking, yeah, you want to actually open up your mouth as big as possible. So, for example, if you were to sing lyrics, pinned messages, I'm hidden and forbidden. I'm told to go away. And I'm opening my mouth as big as possible to try and keep a lot of the brightness from my voice. It's also mic technique is just not keeping too close to it, but also having a nice amount of distance. There is a good amount of distance. I don't know what it is though. You would have to look that up. But yeah, keeping your mouth open and pronouncing everything quite strongly sometimes helps. But this may be your stylistic choice, and that is up to you at the end of the day.
Yeah. We, because you were also on the Christmas album, we have both like given feedback and like we have both like worked with you on stuff for quite a while now, I think. So we are familiar with the stuff that you do, and this is coming from a place of love, but I feel like that's something you really need to work on. Now, if you don't like that, totally cool. You can tell us to pound sand, cancel us on Twitter. Yes. You actually did that. Cool. Do it more. Keep practicing, keep doing it more.
Actually, hold on. What doesn't work for you, sadly?
Yeah,
So
okay.
just so I understand, just so because I'd love to know.
Yeah, like I don't want to force this on you without like, you know, without I don't want to be a dick, basically.
Yeah,
Um
I just want to let me understand where you're at. And actually, hold on. Saying on if there is some way we need to figure out how to do, like we need to fix this, find the solution to this. Um, so why don't we have a call one day and try and figure out how we can better work with our vocals. And I'll work with you and try and find what works for you. Okay?
yeah. Moving on. I do have some other notes for you. Let me just look at them again. Right. So at we already talked about vocal stuff. I already talked about the cowbell.
Rest in peace
I already talked
and
about the
trans.
knife. At a minute in, you go to a new section. That needs a little bit more of a transition, in my opinion. Um, you know, you can play with things like having stuff from the previous section bleed over into the other section to sort of have that change something, keep something the same kind of energy. You can play around with noise sweeps, other transitional sounds. Um, like you can have like a like little vocal note in the background. Entirely depends on the vibe of the track. There's really no wrong answer here. Um, you can play around with that. At 1 minute and 10 seconds in, there is this resonant bass that you have, which is playing a chord progression. This is another thing that Zach and I don't exactly agree with, so take it with a grain of salt. But I personally felt that it was too, like, because of how atonal it was, um, it was hard for me to distinguish what note was being played, and it felt a bit messy. I would recommend having another layer of maybe like an init saw or something that is like solidly the fundamental, to really emphasize that. Which is it?
Let me just play this section so you know exactly what I mean.
Yep. Go for it.
I think that's just a distorted sign.
It might just be a distorted sign.
That should have a pretty strong fundamental.
That's just an 808. Okay, so maybe I would maybe try shoving up the fundamental a bit more to make it like abundantly clear, because it's a bit ambiguous to me. But again, that's something we disagreed on, so take it with a grain of salt. That also does actually segue into another thing we have. Please, for the love of God, use a dedicated sub.
Yeah, this is true. So we were finding, so when we were listening through your track, we were noticing, and I'll turn the sound off and play the track so you can see, is that your kick and your bass both have stereo sub content, which to somebody who doesn't really know, doesn't sounds fine, but hear me on this. The reason why we don't do stereo sub content is because if we ever play it out anywhere with a mono sub, so for example, that time we played in Germany, yeah, there were mono subs. They were just plugged into each other. Yeah, it becomes the sub sums the left and right channels together generally and plays that, which can end up weakening your bass notes. And it's very abundantly clear throughout this track that your bass isn't very solid. It's not super present, just sub a bit. So I would go along with a 1, 2, 3 sub. Oh,
Yeah. Now, I will interject quickly and say, "Oh, but Draconium, you do stereo subs in your own tracks. For God's sake, you do it and tear it down." This is true. Uh, Mono subs only is not a hard and fast rule, but it's something that we strongly suggest doing unless you know better. Because it is possible to do a stereo sub, but it is tricky because there's a lot of pitfalls that you can fall into, and that can ruin your sub for clubs or playing on a phone speaker. So, unless you're aware of what those things are and what those pitfalls are, don't try and do a stereo sub.
Yeah.
I'll probably at some point maybe I'll make like a lesson video on my YouTube that talks about stereo subs because I feel like that would be an interesting topic for at least two people. If there are more than two people, let me know.
Okay, really quickly, a good sub to use is a 1-2-3 sub. All it is we basically are drawing in the fundamentals at 1, 3, and 5, making sure there's no inversions and no other additional frequencies. As soon as you add one up here, it messes it up. You see. But basically, the idea is you want to get this 1, 2, 3. So it's about half of each, isn't it? So the second. So bin 3 is half of bin 1, and bin 5 is half of bin 3. And you want to see this shape here.
Yeah. And the reason I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to explain why you want to see that shape. So, pop quiz for producers in the chat. Out of the 4 basic waveforms, which is the loudest? Is it A, the sine wave, B, the saw wave, C, the triangle wave, or D, the square wave? I don't have Jeopardy sound, and that would get us copyrighted. So, do 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 do. Fucking.
Hold on. I've got you.
You got me. Do. Okay, so if your answer was D, that is correct. The reason is really, really, really dumb. That is because if you plotted all 4 waveforms on a graph, you would notice that the square wave spends the most time at the extreme ends of your waveform. And if you think about it, in a physical sense, that waveform is representing how much a speaker cone is being moved about. So a square wave is literally shoving the speaker cone all the way out and then yanking it all the way back in and then shoving it all the way out really quickly and moving a lot of air. So it's perceptually louder. Now, and what a 1-2-3 sub is doing, you'll notice, is exactly that same thing. It is trying to push as much air as possible to be as loud as possible, which is ideal for bass music. So that's why the 1-2-3 sub is the good kind of sub for this type of music. If you don't want something incredibly bass heavy, you don't have to use something like this sub.
Drag it down 2 octaves. Anyway. Okay, cool. One more thing. Fix the true peak. Don't have true peak. It breaks systems if they're not properly protected. And trust me, I have broken systems what weren't properly protected. And sure, it may be a representation of where you're playing, but you just don't trust anything. And so, what true peak is basically distortion in the analog realm. What that means is normally when you have a track, it can clip at 0, okay? But once it gets into the analog world, yeah, then it doesn't exactly work like that, and there is a limit to how much an analog system can push. So basically, what happens is like the physics distorts it, and it's basically will make a much less consistent sound across the platforms you use. A lot of dubstep producers like maxing out their true peak, and then they complain about why it sounds inconsistent and quote unquote bad between their DAW and SoundCloud. That is why your true peak actually will provide you that consistency.
Yes, Pro L2
Uh,
has a true peak limiter. My mastering chain is literally like a hard clipper, and then Pro L2 to handle the true peaks. That is what I've been mixing into for the past little bit now.
ozone. Basically, a bunch of the ozone stuff has them, and yeah, it'll fix a lot of problems for you.
Yeah,
Um,
mix into a clipper and limiter is like something that I like to do a lot, and usually that's just what my mastering chain ends up looking like.
oh, that's really weird. I got a 1.3 when I'm metering it. Maybe that's from the kick.
Check and see if it's from the kick.
No, it's not the kick. The kick's 0.9 minus 0.9. Oh. Yeah, it's definitely from the main back.
Yeah,
That's
so
really weird. You say it's already been limited. I'd check it.
yeah,
Just have a look
I
at it.
just check it just to be sure.
And at the end of the day, if there is a true peak, just turn it down by 1 decibel. It won't make a difference. Actually, it'll probably help you
Yeah,
because of lufts across streaming services.
yeah, it probably give you a
Um,
tiny bit more headroom as well. Anyways, vocal
oh
chop
yeah,
at 45 is a bit muddy, but I think that's a pretty easy fix. I don't think I need to dwell on that too much. Just take your fucking just like EQ it, boost it up a little bit, make sure there's not too much going on in the 500 range. You'll be fine. We already talked about the
yeah.
kick.
Okay, so the last two things we have on this list for you is one, the song, especially towards the end here, has a lot of gaps and it has a lot of potential for detail and extra twinkly little bits. There is plenty of tracks that add extra detail. And what I mean by detail is just like one shot kind of sounds that are like, or just like add little things that are ear candy,
Ear
quote
candy,
unquote.
exactly.
Yeah. If you don't quite understand, please do say, and then we'll try and explain it a bit better. But if you get that, then we'll go with that. And it is just a little bit empty, but I'm guessing that's just because it's a demo.
Yeah,
Uh,
it is just a demo, but that's definitely something that we want to make sure that you do. Don't slack on it, please.
yeah. Okay, cool.
All right.
If that's everything, then we'll move on. Okay. The last one.
The last one we have no notes on, so we're going to be actively taking notes during this.
Please, can you check? They are here.
Azalea. You're up.
Ooh. Ooh.
We're not going to go on without you. Get in here.
Okay. Do. In the meantime, listen to some music that I transcribed off somebody's butt.
Oh, you transcribed the funny butt music. Didn't somebody else already do that?
I think a lot of people have done it. I got actually paid for this one.
Someone paid you for this?
Yeah, they paid me. They paid me to make transcribe somebody's butt music.
Man,
Welcome.
people are weird and people are horny. All right.
I got paid 50 pounds for that. I'm great. I'm great. Let's do it.
And this is why NSFW furry artists make bank.
It's not the NSFW. What's NSFW about it? It's a painting from like the. I don't know when it's from. Actually.
People like butts. People like
Let's
butt
do
steers.
this. Okay, let's listen.
Just want to point out the artistic genius of repeating the word again over and over and over again in the outro. Very funny. No, that was very solid. That outro was absolutely beautiful. Good job on that. Do you have any notes, Zach, that I should write down, or what you got?
I'll copy and paste them to you.
Okay, I'll also send you mine. All right, here's everything that I had. I am seeing some overlap, which is good. Yeah, no, this is what we usually do when we're first listening to a track. We just both take notes and then we compare them. Okay. Do we want to start with the overlapping stuff, or
I'll just go through my stuff, and then do you want to take the rest?
Yeah, let's just take the. Let's just do that.
I think your stuff has more to it. So the clarity of your pronunciation is really bad. I'm really sorry. And I think a really good example of that is around, if I can find it. What are you saying there? Like, listen. Like, it sounds like you forgot the lyrics at that point. Hey, I'm not saying that part isn't you. Which part is you? Like onwards, forwards, back from that.
While we wait for an answer, like, this is like a thing that I notice is like pretty common with all the stuff that you've sent me, and I think I've commented on it before, but it's like it seems that clarity with your vocals is a massive pain point for you based on what I've heard in the past.
And it's a really hard thing to get, coming from like myself as a singer. Okay. But yeah, like it's a really hard thing to get. And I'm gonna go to camera again. I'm gonna go to my camera again to explain. So when you're singing, yeah, you want your mouth to be open and bright, and you want to make sure your T's and your I's and your E's and all your words, you're able to pronounce them fully. So like it's instead of saying isn't, yeah, it's like isn't. Or however, no. So like for example, if I let me find a line that would be similar size. So like I'm hidden and forbidden. I'm told to go away. I'm broken. I'm overdoing it a bit here, but I'm like spitting the plosives. Would it be? I don't know. Hit like the hit and f and t and b and s. Like that. Them kind of things really need to be hard because especially within a track, they do not poke out, even with a ton of compression, and it's really hard with that.
And if you're worried about
Thank you.
overdoing it, don't worry about overdoing it because your producer or you can go back later and fix anything that's too intense. It's much easier to go back and bring things down that are too much than to try and bring things that are barely there up. It's
Yeah.
much.
So, and one more thing, open your mouth. So like when you want to sing, I'm hidden and forbidden. I was told to go away. I'm broken. I'm sickly because I'm like, yeah. it's you want to keep your mouth open because your your mouth is a personal echo chamber. Yeah, it is a resonance chamber where all the words come out from. If you open that up, things are going to be a lot clearer and things are going to sound a lot nicer, trust me. And that should really help with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And like, I'm going to say this again. I've said it once, but I'm saying it again. Don't be afraid to overdo it. All right. I cannot think of a time that I've given a vocalist a note of like you're overdoing it. Like I think there may have been some times where like you're doing one specific thing too much, but I like it when people give me more of a forward performance because even then, like even then I can maybe in spots I'll tell them to tone it down for to match the tone of a section, but having something which is overdone is generally easy to work with. And it is a skill to sort of like be able to dial that in real time and figure out where you need to be. But when you're starting out, don't be afraid of sending it. Would that be a good piece of advice, would you say?
Um, yeah, I think one thing to avoid though is you don't want to end up sounding like uh, it's the a drama student. There we go.
Oh,
Because that I think they are the case where it does become too much, but that's just because they're basically shouting everything as well.
yeah, no, that is fair. I mean, I was a theater kid in school, so of course I love people who send vocal performances. Anyways, but I also noticed that in spots your 15K in your vocals was a bit high, so it's kind of like I kind of hear incoherent stuff in the mids and around 1 and 5K. And then I just can tell exactly when you're doing a sibilant because it just cuts right through. So try and bring that back a little bit and bring everything else up more. I have watched you work and I have seen that you use OTT in your vocal processing chain. Be very, very careful when you do that because it squashes everything down and it can make things harder to work with. Um,
So, like for example, for myself, I've strayed away from using OTT. It does sound great in the moment, but it does make things a lot harder, especially dynamically,
Oh
to
yeah.
work. So, what I started to do, well, I now use the NOTT from Kilohertz, but the thing is, you can achieve basically the same sound just by EQing it properly, then compressing it.
Yeah.
If you get a good EQ, if you EQ it good out after the compressor, then that should push it where you need to. If that doesn't sound good, then multi-band compressing it might just hide some of the hiding issues rather than solving it.
Yeah. Like cuz like let's think about what OTT is doing, right? A compressor is an automated volume knob. So if a sound is too loud, it turns it down by a certain amount. What OTT does is it does that over three different bands, but a sneaky thing that I think people forget about is if a sound is too quiet, it turns it up. So it literally, like volume wise, it's squashing everything down into one very thin range, which for some sounds is good. But in general, for vocals, that's something you want to avoid because you want to preserve those dynamics. So, just a little thing to think about. If you like the sound of OTT, there are ways that you can achieve that sort of thing, but without sacrificing dynamic content. If you would like to know more, uh, I can also do a lesson video on that, or you can come and talk to me about it later. Uh, just be prepared for a rant because this is one of those things that I've also thought about.
Uh,
Um,
this is this is what OTT is broken down. Um,
this is
from
essentially what OTT basically is. Yeah.
yeah, so I use this because I have way more control over it, and I'm able to solve the issues rather than cover it up whilst getting a nice amount of EDM compression, I guess. Um, but I don't really use this on a lot of my songs, a lot of tracks. I might use this on the main take or specifically, but besides that, that's about it. And I adjust this quite a lot so it isn't compressing anywhere near as hard. Um, because I don't want it to. and be messing with it. Apparently, there's a game up here. Ooh, snake.
Snake. Yeah, I forgot multipass had Snake. Faceplant has like Space Invaders, and I think I forget what Snap Heap has.
Anyway, so yeah, um, and one thing I'd like to point out is I'll play this in silent. Have a look here. So we're gonna play. Oh, let's try that. So control your low content a bit here. And but yeah, just control your low content and be wary that it might be mono. Maybe put it stereo it at the end.
Yep. So I also have some extra things that I want to point out. You have like guitars pop up in a couple places. I can't tell how many layers there are, but it feels like that they're fighting. Um, it feels like they're all being clumped up in one spot. So one thing to keep in mind is that pretty much all electric guitars tend to hang out in the 1K range. So one thing that you should probably do is go through all your guitar layers and pick out the ones that are important, that you feel should be the more prominent ones, and then uh, scoop out the 1K of all the other layers. I think it's like 2 to 5. Yeah, there's a lot going on there. Those need to be cleaned up.
Yeah, that's good though. So yeah, last few things is the harmonies, especially over here. I think it is.
Yeah, I also
And then
there's also a Reese that you introduce in this bridge section here. It comes in a little thick at first.
like mute me for a second whilst I find it.
Yeah, it's around here.
What are you looking for? Sorry.
Yeah, that like the part with it's like comes in before where those almond breaks were. But yeah, that you could probably introduce that a little bit more tactfully. Also, the chord stacks that you have here, they're also pretty muddy. I would clean those up.
Yeah, it just feels like you have a lot of octaves going on in the low end. Please keep in mind that when you're doing basses, yeah, that there's frequency mud, but there's also notational mud. If you take a piano and you try and play a chord in the low end of the piano, and then pair playing that up in the high end of the piano, the high end is going to sound a lot nicer than the low end. It's musically going to be more muddy down at the bottom. And in this case, because you have so much of this, like the bass notes on the octaves kind of going, it's a bit musically muddy. Like if you listen. You can kind of hear all them octaves there. It doesn't quite work. And the harmonies at points get very lost in the mix. But it looks like, and this is just a master thing, that you're kind of bashing yourself into a limiter the whole way, and it's going to really make your time a lot harder, especially this section here. A lot of the things are kind of suffering because it's hitting the master a bit too hard. So I'd pull things back a bit and make the track just a bit quieter. I know it's a loudness test, but might be worth having a look at it, just so you can still have everything punched through, without having to lose all the dynamics of it and the generally the niceness of having the fluidity between all
Yeah,
that. Vocal,
I was
yeah,
gonna say on that note that you're that like it doesn't feel like you've really gained staged all of your sections. Like this kind of looks like a sausage all the way through. I feel like a couple spots here could be turned down a little bit to give those like really oomphy choruses just that little bit more extra punch because of that dynamic contrast.
I think
We were talking about
yes,
the same thing with Eden's is or with
it
Bystander.
yeah, it does seem like it's been gain stage in the quieter parts, but it's like I'd be yeah, I'd bring down some sections a little bit more, like these. And to bring these things down a bit, so when it comes to these sections, so it's just picking and choosing where you're going to be allowed and where you want to be allowed purposefully, yeah. Because your whole track, I don't think your track suffers a bit from just being so constantly loud, and it's not like you've got a structure, sure, but it's quite up and down. So that's something that you'll have to go through and decide on. One last thing is that at times, getting a bit lost. You can hear the high end of the vocal, but you don't really hear anything else. So I'd maybe bring them up and then re-EQ to adjust to the linear. Anything else on your end?
Let me double check my notes.
I think it's the mid-heavy one, isn't it?
Oh yeah, last thing. I don't know how many vocal layers you have here, but definitely try playing around. Like I would really recommend playing around with them a little bit more. Maybe like have two takes of the same thing and pan them in different directions to give them a little more presence. Really like try and like place your vocalist in the stereo space to like be a little bit more creative. Could provide some listener interest. Again, this is stuff we also covered with. This is stuff we've covered with previous things that we talked about this stream. But yes, vocal layers, use them more. I have been enlightened by them recently, and I must spread the good word.
And what they're specifically talking about is like not the harmonies, but like multiple of the lead take and then panning them around.
Yeah. Although harmonies are a good thing to play with too, but you should be a little bit more tasteful with your harmonies to give them some extra impact.
Yeah, like because this is the last track we're doing. I'll quickly show you the I'll quickly show you the vocals on one of the tracks I'm working on currently, and how I haven't done the harmonies for it yet, but you can see how I've just done the lead for it. And just wait for everything to load. So how I've done it, I've taken three takes and merged them together by putting one left, one right, and then having my best take in the middle, and I've worked that up a bit more in the mix. So you'll see what it looks like when it loads. Wow, the loading times on these projects are. Whew.
I do not miss FL Studio loading times.
Hey, you could be Ableton's loading times.
Ableton's are slightly better. Like,
No.
okay, fair point. But it's like I working with Bitwig has been a dream in that regard. Everything's just it's so snappy.
Yeah, the thing that takes the time is just loading plugins.
Yeah, which Bitwig is a lot faster about.
I'll have to compare. Anyway, have a look. So, oh, come on. Yeah, there we go. So here we go. We've got the. Everyone. So we have a mid take. Yeah, so this is our right take, this is our left take, and this is our mid take. So we have a take in the middle. Everyone, everywhere, all
all the time, oh.
And then we have our left take, right take here.
Everyone, everywhere, all the time, always.
And our left take.
Everyone, everywhere, all the time, always.
And then all together.
Everyone, everywhere, all the time, always.
Together, that makes a much nicer sound. And you wouldn't hard pan them. That's interesting.
That is a personal preference thing.
Yeah, how you pan them is up to you. Like, if we were to try 90%, let's try 90% for the sake of xenon.
Everyone, everywhere, all the time, always.
Yeah, like the difference isn't huge with that, from my opinion. But we'll have a discussion about that later. Maybe you can enlighten me. But yeah, like having that layered just thickens it up compared to just having the one layer, which is just
everyone, everywhere, all the time, always. Everyone, everywhere, all the time,
that's
always.
just distracting for you, isn't it? But that should make it. That should have some effect to it. Anyway, I think that's everything we've got, isn't it?
I think that's it. Thank you everyone for showing.
There it is.
We're done. Woo! I'm gonna need to lie down and take a fucking nap. Yeah. Next feedback from good. Next feedback with good. I don't know when it's gonna be. We kind of do them when we feel like it. We've just been horrifically busy the last 10 months or so we haven't had time to sit down and do it.
Also, don't forget Discord.net.audio. It's my Discord.
He wants you to join his Discord. You should also join mine while you're at it. We have stools.
Join my Discord. No.
We have a dedicated thread in my server for people's hyperfixations. You can get neurodivergent about it and nobody's gonna judge you. Anyways, I don't know when we're gonna do the next feedback, but good. You should totally join our Discords because that's where we announce them. No, I don't announce them on socials because I'm fucking tired and I don't want to. But yeah, I will see you all tonight at 11 p.m. CST for my set with VR Palace. There's gonna be some good shit. There's gonna be some unreleased shit. There's going to be some bad shit.
This is where you need your poster and you put it on the screen.
Bitch. You motherfucker.
Yeah.
Okay, where I don't.
But yeah. So thank you guys for your submissions. Hopefully we'll get a few more next time and we'll go through them as well. I hope that it's been valuable and the lessons you've learned from it are great.
If it's not, sorry. We tried not to be generic feedback streamers.
Hey, like feedback. I make feedback good.
We make feedback but good, and we've been doing that since 2022. All right, now fuck off. Yeah. Goodbye.
Also, the 123 base got posted in production.
Go join his Discord. All right, fuck off.